Shalom everybody, and welcome back to Insights in the Parsha of the Week, Parshat Chukat in the diaspora. It's Chukat Balak, but we'll have some insights in the Parsha of Chukat. There's so many details in the Parsha. Let's focus on the passing of Aharon. Right? It says in the end of chapter 20 that Moshe Rabbeinu took up Aharon to Hor HaHar, and then he passed away. And then the last verse reads there, verse 29, that the people didn't believe that Aharon passed away. He stood up in front of the angel of death in Parshat Korach. They couldn't believe such a person everybody loved and respected, and he was such a tzaddik that he could have passed away. So Moshe Rabbeinu davened, and the coffin, the grave of Aharon came out floating, so the Jews saw and they believed. So the verse reads, Vayiru kol ha'eda, and they saw, the whole assembly saw that Aharon passed away. Ki gava Aharon, that Aharon passed away. They saw. That's where we learn out that they saw the body. Vayivku et Aharon shloshim yom, and they mourned over, crying for Aharon 30 days. Kol Beit Yisrael, men, women, and children, all of the assembly of Israel, because he was someone everybody loved, because he was able to make peace between husband and wife, shalom bayit issues, etc. He was the man. So now, the Gemara says that when Aharon passed away, the clouds of glory disappeared. They came back afterwards in the merit of Moshe Rabbeinu, but they disappeared to show that they were existing in the merit of Aharon. And when Aharon passed away, the clouds of glory disappeared. In between the reappearance and the disappearing, so there was a period that the Jews were exposed in the desert, and that's the next chapter, chapter 21, verse 1. It says, Vayishma HaKnaani melech Arad Yoshev HaNegev ki ba Yisrael derech ha'atarim. So the Canaanites, the king of Arad, who was a Knaani, heard that, what did he hear? He heard that Aharon passed away, and because of that, the clouds of glory disappeared and the Jews were exposed. And it says where he lived, who lived in the southern part of Israel. Ki ba Yisrael derech ha'atarim, that the Israelite camp has come through derech ha'atarim, to the places which is not far from where they were. Vayilachem b'Yisrael, so they fought Israel. Vayishp b'menu shevi, and they were able to take from the Jewish people, Rashi says, a maidservant, a shivcha. That means she wasn't Jewish, but by becoming a shivcha, she became like an Eved Kanaani that a Jew is allowed to keep, and they're obligated to do certain of the Torah's mitzvot, which are for a Jewish slave, a slave owned by a Jew. Okay, we have a few things to go on to explain here. Number one, what's the idea of the clouds of glory? You know, what's the connection between the clouds of glory and Aharon? We know that he passed away and it was in his merit. So the idea of clouds, and they're called clouds of glory, kavod. Rebbe Nachman in lesson 24, Likutey Moharan, he connects the concept of honor with emunah. He explains, Baruch kavod Hashem mimekomo, the blessed is the honor, the glory of Hashem from its place. This honor that that the verse is referring to is emunah. Why? The greatest expression of respecting Hashem is reflected in emunah. When a person has emunah, this is the greatest honor of Hashem, because emunah is the key for everything else in your service of Hashem. You're doing things out of emunah. You're saying a berachah out of emunah. You wash your hands in the morning, go to daven, put on tefillin out of emunah. You say the prayers, you're just saying these words, but you believe that they do something. Number one, you're commanded by halacha to pray, so you're saying the prayer words, but you believe that they do something in the world. All that is emunah, and this brings the greatest kavod. Okay? More than this, it's like a shield. When a Jew has emunah, it's like one of the greatest shields of protection from anything, and also the greatest force to push a person forward. He teaches Rebbe Nachman, for example, in lesson 24, that when Hashem bestows upon a person blessing, you should aim for the highest blessing, which is the blessing of intellect, meaning to get to know of Hashem, to perceive Hashem on the higher levels, highest of levels. But even then, you can't rely on the intellect alone. You must always join it with a level of emunah which is above and beyond the level of intellect that you are aiming to get, always there's a level of emunah that's higher, because the way Judaism works, the way perceiving Hashem works, is that there's endless levels to perceive Hashem. Because of that, you will always need in life emunah. The saying goes, Rebbe Nachman quotes this saying very much, Tachlit hayediyah asher lo neda. The goal of knowing is to not know. In other words, the goal of knowledge is to realize how much you don't know about Hashem, and because of that, you have to rely on emunah. So this force of emunah is what's always propelling a person to go forward. By doing so, it's a shield, because it's the force that gives you to go forward, so it's like a weapon, and it's a protection, and everything else that comes with it. So now, the clouds of glory in the desert were called clouds of glory, because what is a cloud? A cloud is a few things. Number one, you can't see through it. It's like when things are not clear in life, you have to turn to emunah. So it's called the cloud of glory. Kavod is referring to, like Rebbe Nachman teaches, faith. It's a cloud which activates emunah. The Jews were walking in this cloud. That means they don't know what's happening outside of the cloud. They're just going forward, and the cloud is protecting them. They're busy studying Torah, davening, learning, enjoying the bliss of the Mishkan and the sacrifices, and all the high level of godly perception they were having was covered up in the cloud. Okay? That's from the perspective of the Jews inside. So it's a level of emunah. Number two, those outside, the enemies, could not see. They could not see what's going on. So it's a protection. All this was in the merit of Aharon, because Aharon, Rebbe Nachman teaches, the idea of Kohanim, and especially Aharon, is that they're the channel of berachah in the world. That's why there's what's called Birkat Kohanim. The blessings of the Kohanim is to channel this blessing, and the highest blessing being intellect, but coupled with emunah. All that is in the merit of Aharon, who was the epitome example of the Kohanim. So when he passed away, the clouds of glory disappeared, and it was that time that they were exposed, and that's when the Canaanite Melech Arad, like Rashi says, who's really Amalek. He was really Amalek. Why? So why does the verse say, the Midrash says, the Gemara says, he was really Amalek. So why do you say he's the Canaanite? Because Amalek is always a very wicked and bad enemy of the Jewish people. He wanted to fool the Jewish people. He knew, Amalek, that their weapon of the Jewish people is prayer. But he wanted to use a way of deception. So it says, there's a few opinions in the version of Rashi that we have in the text, and also in earlier versions, and other versions of other commentaries and in the Midrash. What exactly did this king of Amalek, of Arad, do? Did he change just the clothing and not the language, or language and not the clothing, or did they change both? The accepted view is that this king of Amalek, the king of Arad, Melech of the south of Israel, he changed both the language and the clothing. So they looked like Canaanites, they spoke the language of Canaan, but they were really Amalekites. All this is in Rashi, by the way. So the Jews, when they faced this enemy, because they were coming to attack them, they saw at first glance Canaanites coming. So their weapon is to daven, Canaanites. But then, and they see they're talking and screaming as they're approaching in Canaanite language. But they saw their expression, and they said this expression is unique to Amalek. It can't be Canaan. So they had frustration who they were. So like Rashi says, okay, let's daven, Hashem, save us from them. It says clearly, the next verse number 2 in chapter 21, Vayidar Yisrael neder l'Hashem vayomar. So the Israelites made a vow, a promise, like a neder to Hashem, saying the following: Im naton titen et ha'am hazeh beyadim. If Hashem give, you shall give this nation into our hands. So Rashi says they didn't say these Canaanites, they said this nation. By doing that, leaving it open. We don't know who they are. They look like Canaanites. They speak like Canaanites, but they don't look like it. In other words, their expression and their attitude, their ofi in Hebrew, is not that of Canaanites. And that was the truth. They were really Amalekites, okay? So Hashem save us, and that's what actually happened. They were saved in this battle, and they destroyed them. They did chorma. They killed them, and also they plunged everything that they got, all the gold and silver and whatever they had, they gave it to consecrate it to the Mishkan. Okay? This happened when the clouds of glory disappeared, because Aharon is the key for this blessing and this emunah. And since that was removed, they were exposed to this enemy. Now, this enemy, Amalek, we have two mitzvahs. There's a mitzvah to blot out, to kill Canaan, and there's also a mitzvah to kill Amalek. Okay? They both have a command, even though the Canaanites are part of the nations, the 7 nations of Israel that are occupying, and there's a mitzvah to destroy them because there's no holy sparks at all left in them. They're totally evil. Amalek has a different story. Amalek has holy sparks, but Amalek is even more dangerous. Like, for example, Haman, Esav, find in that they're rooted in what's called the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The Amalekites were known to be shape changers. The idea of shape changing is the idea to make someone frustrated, that they're able to attack by making you confused and frustrated. That's what Amalek did here. They wanted to make the Jews frustrated. They actually did. That's Amalek's deceit and evilness of fooling. So he has to be killed for a different reason. However, there are holy sparks trapped in Amalek, like it says in the Gemara, that the descendants of Haman taught Torah in Bnei Brak, and the descendants of Haman, they sat in the Lishkat HaGazi. They're also part of the Sanhedrin. He had descendants who converted. So there is some good that can be salvaged, but they also have to be destroyed for a different reason. But notice, they attacked specifically when the clouds of glory in the merit of Aharon disappeared, showing that when you don't have this blessing, which is represented by Aharon, and the blessing contains the blessing of perceiving God with emunah, so a person is prone to attacks from deceit of Amalek, which in other terms is called the chamber of exchanges, where a person is being fooled, where right and wrong is switched, pure and impure is switched, holy and unholy, where a person is confused, thinking that the good is really bad and the bad is really good. All this confusion emanates from the distortion of Amalek. Okay? Notice a side point that the two things he changed is the language and speech, and clothing. And this is one of the weaknesses that Jewish people have. Oh, he looks like such a nice guy. He can't harm us. Look how he's dressed immaculately. They're dressed so properly. Like if you want to say, for example, the Nazis, how they were dressed properly and they spoke a high level educated language of German. And yet these people did the worst things in history. To show you that Amalek is like that. He knows how to fool and shapeshift and change a person, convince a person because of their deceit. So the Torah is showing us here that Dafka Amalek attacked when the clouds of glory disappear. Meaning what? Our weapon to get emunah, to protect us, and berachah, is the concept of Aharon. Aharon, by the way, he represents simcha. The reason why Aharon merited to become the Kohen Gadol and have the choshen on his chest, the breastplate, is because the Torah says that Aharon was so happy and not jealous of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe thought, how could I become the leader to take the Jews out of Egypt? He told Hashem at the burning bush, my brother, he's already a prophet, he's older than me. So Hashem says, no, he's going to come out, berachah v'samach belibo. He's going to see you, and he's going to be happy. Even though you are his younger brother, he won't say, but I'm a prophet already, I'm older than him. What is this that Hashem chose Moshe Rabbeinu over me? Adrabah, the opposite. He was so happy. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy. You're the one chosen by Hashem to redeem the Jews, because that he wasn't jealous. And Rebbe Nachman teaches in his book, Rebbe Nachman's wisdom, that is a big attribute, that if I can't make it at life, at least the other guy should make it. That's a very big thing, because most people, when they crash in life, they have the feeling, if I can't make it, then he also can't make it. Why should he be better than me? Aaron wasn't like that. He was older. He was a prophet already. Nonetheless, Moshe was chosen and he was happy about it. That's why he became Aharon HaKohen. That's why he had this love, this ahava and simcha in connecting to Hashem. So the Torah is showing us when Aharon disappears, when the aspect of Aharon is gone, the tzaddikim represent Aharon are gone. So we have to watch it. That's when Amalek tries to attack with all the shape-shifting faculties and tricks that he has, which is the aspect of the chamber of exchanges. And that's when we're exposed. What's needed is we have to reconnect to the Torah. It says that the clouds came back and they married Moshe Rabbeinu. What's the difference? Initially, they were there in the merit of Aharon, but then he passed away. But then it came back in the merit of Moshe Rabbeinu. That when we lose the concept of Aharon in our lives and our personal devotions, we have to turn to the Tzaddikim to reactivate the idea of the clouds of glory, which emanate and bring forth emunah. One more point is Aharon was the one, on one hand, right? He's the one who represents the clouds of glory, and also he was the one who made peace between husband and wife. Because Rebbe Nachman teaches also the disaccord between husband and wife emanates from the chambers of exchanges, where things are switched, where the husband feels like he's a feminine role, and the wife feels a masculine role. Things are switched, and there's no shalom bayit because no one's in the proper place. All that is due to the lack of Aharon, who knew how to make peace between husband and wife, put everyone in their right place. It's a very deep concept, but Aharon was the one who was able to do that. Aharon, representing blessing, emunah, and joy, is the key for making shalom bayit. That was the whole idea of Aharon, more than Moshe Rabbeinu even, to show us that this is what's needed in life to bring shalom between husband and wife, is the aspect of Aharon. Not just the tzaddik Aharon, that's why they mourned him, but he's also a concept in life. Rebbe Nachman teaches the Kohanim are the concept of berachah. They represent blessing. So it's a concept. I'm not a Kohen, but I need to activate berachah. So he teaches Rebbe Nachman that if you work on being happy, so even when you're faced with challenges and you get knocked left and right, still the happiness leads you to activate berachah, and that berachah brings the emunah needed, which is the idea of the clouds of glory activated by Aharon. These concepts are a bit deep, but may we be zochet to apply the practical application of the message hinted to in this parsha. Shabbat shalom umvorach.